includes downtown Columbus, I have Ohio State University, I have Franklinton, Old Town East, Grandview, and Bexley, and I have German and Marion Village. I have an amazing district. I feel incredibly fortunate to represent a district that is thriving and dynamic and artistic and is full of progressives who understand the importance of both the community and the state level advocacy work that they're passionate about. And so things that I have been working on prior to joining the Ohio legislature, I spent about 10 years at the Ohio Attorney General's office. And during my time at the AG's office, I did everything from work in the first assistance section, I did civil defense litigation, and then the last several years I was at the Attorney General's office, I did a lot of work with crime victims and actually managed the legal unit in our crime victim services section. And so a lot of the work that I do in the legislature now addresses victim advocacy type of work, and so specifically trying to prevent violence happening from women. And so have done a lot regarding domestic violence. Right now I'm working on legislation that would, I'm actually working on it with Dr. Ortiz, who is our county coroner. She brought it to my attention that they have been trying to convene a domestic fatality review task force, but can't do that because they can't share privilege and confidentiality. And so been partnering with her to try and create legislation that would sanction the commissioning of a domestic fatality review task force and would be able to have that privilege between the members of that body. Doing a lot in criminal justice space and specifically post-release control supervision. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have heard about the incident with Reagan Poach, the young constituent of mine that was killed in the short north. Trying to make sure that things like that never happen anywhere in Ohio, but certainly to young people that live in my district. And so that's a little bit of what I'm working on. I see the 60-second flag, and so I will pass it off.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us here this evening. My name is Crawley. I am the representative for Ohio's 26th House District, which is east and southeast of Franklin County. I have a little bit of Reynoldsburg, Whitehall, Canal, Winchester, and Groveport. And so I am in my first term in the legislature. I was elected in November 2018, came in the House in January of last year and kind of hit the ground running on multiple issues, but mainly around education and infant and maternal mortality. I just had a bill signed into law by the governor, which was my very first piece of legislation. It's House Bill 18, the Veterans Payment Exemption Act, which will put money back in the pockets of veterans who were as improperly taxed at the state level for their disability severance payments. So when they are separated from the military, depending on how their payments were categorized, we taxed it at the state level. And it used to be taxed at the federal level, and that was corrected in 2016, but we were still taking money at the state. So if you are a veteran going all the way back to January 1991, if you have a disability severance payment that you pay tax on, you can apply for a refund all the way until the end of this year. Also, I have House Bill 434 and House Bill 435, which is, 434 is the Pregnancy Associated Mortality Review Board, which comes from the federal level in the Preventing Maternal Deaths Act. That federal legislation allotted $58 million to states to have and create a review board to review all maternal deaths in the state and look at the causes directly and indirectly that led to the deaths. And so I was able to get an amendment in the budget last year to provide some codification for that law, but this bill really goes in depth. That was fast. Oh my gosh. And so 435 is Save Our Mothers Act, which will deal with like trying to make Ohio an AIM state, which is the Alliance for the Innovation on Maternal Health, and look at racism, discrimination, implicit bias, and severe hemorrhage, and eclampsia and preeclampsia, the causes of maternal deaths that are preventable here in the state. I also work on education issues and reducing testing for 9th through 12th graders. We know our students are tested ridiculously. I've heard from OEA and teachers and administrators, as well as parents and children who have been just traumatized by the amount of testing that they are under and are experiencing depression and really hate going to school and don't feel like they are excited about learning, and teachers feel like they are not really able to teach. They went to school to be able to be creative and engage students in learning, and they haven't been able to because they teach to the test. So really working on Birth to 5 initiatives as well as education initiatives to make sure that students have a quality of life that they look forward to and are excited about learning, and that teachers can really be excited about engaging students in learning and doing what they do best. So thank you.
If there was one thing you could tell constituents about how to get engaged at the State House, can you share like what you need most to get support?
So I talk about this all the time when I have conversations with Crawley, and you probably have seen invitations for those. It's really an opportunity for me to hear from you, and my colleagues have the same office hours. And so that's a way for you to get engaged. We really do introduce legislation that comes from your recommendations. And so, I mean, I have 3 bills that one has already passed that came from a constituent. And so that's how, like, your voice really has meaning. I work for you, and I really do need that. So that's a way to get involved. But then also coming down to the state legislature in committees. We have bills that come up for hearings, and it's disheartening when I don't see anyone there to give testimony. The State House is the people's house. You can just show up. You don't necessarily, we'd like for you to submit your testimony 24 hours in advance, but you literally can show up, fill out a witness form, and give testimony on the bill, and then provide it to the chair and have it uploaded for everyone to be able to see, and then contact you on your position on whatever, on that bill, and you know, where you stand on it. That is a way that you can get engaged. And again, I can't reiterate how disheartening it is when we have a trash bill, like it'll be trash. And I don't have any opposition there. We are in the super minority, and there's only so much we can do. So I always say, don't send me to the State House to advocate for change and I don't have you with me. This is a coalition building process, and I can only do things when I have you and I have you have my back, and you're in the committee and you're reaching out to my colleagues to say why something is meaningful for you in our community and why you feel the way that you do. So this is a partnership.
Thank you. So I try to make sure that my constituents and the Franklin County community can communicate with me in whatever medium they're comfortable with. So if people want to Facebook message me, Facebook message me. If people want to call my office, call my office. If they want to send me an email, send me an email. You know, I will meet you where you can be met, where you're comfortable with. Tweet at me, that happens too. Please don't correct my grammar on Twitter. That's, you know, love the grammar police. But no, it is about, you know, there are so many opportunities for someone to reach out and connect, and I will try and be open to all forms of those so that people feel that I am accessible. If there is legislation that you are concerned about, the reality is that in the Ohio House, we will introduce over 500 bills. Sometimes, some General Assembly cycles, it's over 600 bills. Erica, Representative Crawley, and I cannot keep track of 600 bills. And so we do the best job we can of keeping track of the bills to the committees that we are assigned. So I am on Public Utilities Committee, I'm on Insurance Committee, and sometimes I'm on Energy and Natural Resources Committee, depending on what legislation is there. And so if those bills are in my committee, I will know them pretty well. If you are interested in a bill that is not in my committee, reach out to my office. I will let you know, give you a status update. This is where the bill is. This is who the ranking member is on that committee. This is who you need to talk to. This is how you sign up so that you can get online alerts about when something is happening with that particular piece of legislation. And so we will be a resource to you to track the things, to help you track the things that you care about. And so I think that that is really the first step in being able to be an advocate for the issues you care about is to contact us. We will be as open as possible to helping connect you wherever you need to get to or go within the State House community.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having